Action. This is Rebecca with the Cat and Rebecca Show, Keep It Real Estate, and we're with Brian Kavanagh and the Franklin Loan Center. And we wanted to touch on what the life of a loan is and what the steps are.
Okay, I'm glad that you asked that. The life of a loan usually takes anywhere from 2 weeks to months, depending on the length of escrow that you have or that time period for that contract. Okay, but I'm going to start off right away, like assuming that you've got an approved contract and it comes to me. Once I have those items, we now have an application. The first thing is an application. From the application, then we request fees and we disclose the loan. With that disclosure of the loan, we have an intent to proceed that gets done from the borrower, and we send out the initial fees and what to expect for payments and for the cost of this transaction. After we have that intent to proceed back and we receive some monies from the borrowers, we order the appraisal. Okay? While the appraisal is being ordered, before we wait for it, then we take everything that we have, all the buyer's information, including these disclosures that we've done, the contracts, the tax returns, the pay stubs, the bank statements, everything that we need for the buyer, and we send it off to our processor. The processor is our liaison between us, the buyer, and escrow and title. Okay? They will take that information, request some additional items from title and escrow, possibly some HOA company if there is, and if we're missing anything, they'll let us know, and we'll get some more stuff from the borrowers. From there, once he or she has all that information, they will submit that file to underwriting. Underwriting is a department that they are the licensed individuals that actually approve that loan for that particular program that we're using, whether it's FHA, VA, conventional, jumbo, whatever the program is that we're doing. Okay, and then that loan will come back to us with an approval, and with that approval, there could be additional items. Maybe they saw a pay stub here, but there's question on it. Maybe we're waiting for something from title or escrow, or even the appraisal hasn't come back yet. He or she will give us that approval. We will work on those conditions, including whatever's missing from before, and then we will also send out the closing disclosure. This is the final closing disclosure that tells the terms, what all the fees are, what the payment's going to be for the borrower to review before they're allowed to sign loan documents. We'll get all that back together. We'll send it back to the underwriter, and the underwriter will then clear it, approve everything that's on there, clear it, and set up for loan documents. Okay? So a lot of different people in here. Okay, once the loan documents are there, they'll generate those and they will email those out to escrow. Typically it's escrow or title, whoever is doing those contracts for the file. Borrower then will sign those loan documents. They will not e-sign them. Nothing will be on the internet. They will be sitting at a table with a notary public and they will sign it. The notary verifies that that borrower is who that borrower is, verify based off of their signature and government ID. They'll sign the loan documents. They go back to us for review. Then we fund the loan. That whole process sounded like it took 5 minutes. That process takes typically 3 to 4 weeks, sometimes 45 days, depending on everybody that's involved.
Well, it's going back and forth a lot of times. Now, you touched on the underwriter and conditions. I always hear from a buyer their conditions. Now, a condition to me, in my terminology, would be requirements that the underwriter is looking for as far as additional information. Sometimes that additional information would be just something that title or escrow would need to do, but other times you get a list of things that the borrower needs to find and return, like updated pay stubs, an updated bank statement, those types of things.
Correct, and it can be even more nitpicky than that. It could be, I asked the borrower for an explanation and documentation as to this deposit that went into their account. But if they can't give me sufficient information, sometimes we might be going back and forth to underwriting, back and forth, trying to find a common ground that she will accept and that the borrower can provide. So sometimes not everything is black and white. Sometimes you have to work with it.
Well, and I think that's the thing, is everybody thinks every deal is very similar, and they're not, because we're like individuals, everything
everything is its own deal.
Yeah, and again, those conditions are just what the underwriter's requiring as far as further information. And I know there's always that battle of, oh, it went to underwriting, and sometimes it can go back a couple times for review on whatever it is they're requesting.
It can. Not only does the underwriter underwrite the individual or the couple that's buying the house based off their income, credit, and savings, but they also underwrite the actual property. That property could have problems with it as well. Has nothing to do with the borrowers, but maybe that property has litigation on it. Maybe that property, they saw something in the appraisal that they didn't like with a correct window or something. Or it could be a multitude of things.
Yeah, that might be another discussion, because sometimes people think that they can buy any house once they're approved, and I hate to tell you, the house has to qualify too. They're just
The house has to be approved as well.
Yeah, there's certain requirements as far as a minimum that a house can qualify for financing. So that should start with the agent. There's certain things we can look for that we can see, sometimes not.
Correct.
But yeah, going back and forth with the underwriter, that always seems that the biggest process and the most amount of time, because they need to make sure they have the information that's required for them to properly underwrite.
Correct.
Well, I hope you have other questions, and if you do, please click a link on the side, and your question or comment could be the next show, and we'll have Brian back. Keep it real, estate.